Hey everybody, it is that time of the month. It is time for me to wrap up my March 2021 reading. And let me tell you, I have quite a few very, very good books to tell you about. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? I hope you guys are, as always, healthy, happy, safe, and of course reading a book or two or three or four. It is another beautiful day in Northern California. I have to say we've already walked the dogs a couple times. I finished a couple of books. We watched a movie. So I am totally loving today. To be honest, it's been a great day. And to top it off, I get to talk about books with y'all. So cannot get much better than that. So as always, I'm going to tell you to get out that pen, get out that paper, get out that Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR, because I am about to make it explode, I promise. As always, if you can order a book or two from your local independent bookstore, please do so. Or if you're a library user, get your library to order you a copy as soon as possible. Let's get started. So the first book that I'm going to tell you about, and I've already talked about on my channel a little bit, is Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is his latest novel. I think it's his first novel post the Nobel Prize in Literature, if I'm not mistaken. And it's probably my second favorite Ishiguro novel of all time. Clara and the Sun is very much in the vein of Never Let Me Go. Sort of one of those slightly futuristic, it's not dystopian. It's sort of like slightly science fiction. It's just slightly. Set in a world just sort of off kilter from ours, Clara is an artificial friend, a robot that you can purchase for your young child to sort of have this companionship. We meet Clara very early. She is in the store. She is ready to be sold. And what we find out is that right off the bat, Clara is an observer. She notices things about the world around her, and that makes her unique from the other artificial friends. One day, a young girl comes up to the window. Her and Clara sort of connect immediately, and she winds up being purchased and going home with this young girl and becoming her artificial friend. We learn very quickly that the young girl suffers from some illness, never truly defined, but it sort of takes her in and out of life at different time periods. And as the story goes on, that starts to develop into an issue because the mother is very afraid. The young girl's mother is very afraid of losing her daughter. And what Clara winds up doing is she winds up becoming an observer of those relationships within the household, the relationships of the young woman with friends outside, and also we get sort of a commentary on society inside the novel, pollution, education. All these sort of things are brought to Clara's attention where she observes it and gives us a unique perspective, but allows us to slightly look at it our own way. I hope that makes sense. So this book is really a metafiction almost on the idea of observing the world around you and understanding the relationships not only between people, but between the people and the world. And at the end, when Clara has sort of come to that, what does that mean for her as a being herself? I loved this book. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I think everyone should read it. So please pick up Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. You can get it now. It's out in the US from Knopf. It is so good. I have to say the US has not the US, the UK has some amazing versions of that book out. The print, it's just absolutely beautiful. The next book we're going to talk about is Let's Get Back to the Party by Salih. And I know I'm probably saying Zach's name wrong, so I apologize. I want to thank Algonquin for sending me this finished copy. Thank you very, very much. I absolutely adored this book. This is the story of two different young gay men, probably in their 30s. Oscar is a gay man that is really led by his libido. He's very anti the idea of forming relationships, forming connections, and sort of always uses sex as an excuse to sort of walk away. And he also has a very passionate view on the idea of the invasion of queer spaces. And I'm going to not say too much about that because I think that the book does a really nice job of sort of fleshing that out, and it's very understandable from Oscar's perspective. Actually, I feel a lot of connection to that part of Oscar. Our other character is Sebastian, and Sebastian is sort of the other way. He has just gotten out of a long relationship. He and his ex had moved sort of outside of Washington, D.C. to this house, and that relationship sort of sputtered, and Sebastian's sort of been lost since then. He doesn't really know what he wants. And now Sebastian is an educator, a teacher of art history, and I believe literature as well. Art history focuses a lot in this book. And he meets a young student that he becomes sort of envious of that student's ability to be authentically himself as a child his age. So I think he's like 17. And I definitely connected with that part of Sebastian. There are parts of me that really envy sort of the freedom of young gay people in America today. And, and how different that was from when I was their age in high school, a little less than 30 years ago. And Sebastian sort of trying to figure out what his relationship is. Now, Sebastian and Oscar knew each other when they were young, and they keep running into each other, and Oscar doesn't always remember Sebastian. And when their relationship sort of tries to work, it never works. So it's really about just like being gay men from different perspectives in the world and relationships from two very different points of view. I found both characters extremely real. Like I've met them. Parts of me were very much in both of them. So I found that amazingly powerful. And overall, I just really liked the story and the writing. So that's Let's Get Back to the Party, a novel by Zach Salih, out from Algonquin Books. You can get your hands on it as we speak. Okay, the next 3 books we're going to talk about are actually all in a series, and it's a graphic novel series, and it's called Heartstopper, and this is volumes 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to hold 1, 2, and 3. So, these are just adorable. This is really the story of 2 young boys in high school, Charlie and Nick, who meet each other. They start to figure out that they like each other. Now, Charlie is already out. He has been outed in his high school, and he has dealt with some bullying, dealt with some issues, and he is invited because of his speed to be part of the rugby team where he meets Nick, and their relationship becomes sort of the focus of all 3 of these books. I should hold them up because they're totally adorable. The thing is, what's really great about these books is, yes, they are sweet, and the relationship that it focuses on is very nice, but it also deals with some really tough topics that young gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, everybody that's part of the LGBTQIA plus community have sort of felt in their life. It deals with bullying. It deals with self-harm. It deals with eating disorders. It deals with coming out of the closet. It deals with all of that, but with such a heart. Oh, you know what? This is the Heartstopper, and it's by Alice Oseman. I can't believe I forgot to totally say the author's name because I loved them so much. Oh, big thank you to my friend Ryan over at Read by Ryan, because he lent me these 3 books, and I am so happy he did, because I absolutely love them. And I think volume 4 is coming out very, very soon. But in a way, these books are like, they have such heart, but they deal with real topics that I think that a lot of people will identify with. And not only queer youth, I think that a lot of people deal with similar issues, and they can see themselves in these young boys. So I absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it. Please get your hands on it. And that is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. And this one is out by Hodder. And I'm not sure if it has a different publisher in the US or the UK, but I absolutely love them. Love them. Thank you, Ryan, very, very much. The next book that I read was for my Bicoastal Bibliophiles book club that meets just about every quarter, every 2 months or so. And that's The Hare by Melanie, and this is out from $2 Press. Now, I had a very unique relationship with this book. So this is the story. At the very beginning, we meet a young girl. Her name is Rosie, and she's in a relationship with a man who's clearly into illegal stuff. So she is young. She's just started college. He's sort of swept her off of her feet. She is totally disengaged from her life because she just in love, right? And then she gets pregnant, something happens, and they have to flee to northern Vermont, sort of to hide away. And then he winds up disappearing and then winds up going to prison, and she is left to raise her young daughter. The book spans many years. So we get it in the beginning of this relationship, this beginning of this isolation in this small town. And then as Rosie becomes Rose as she gets older, the young daughter starts to age as well, becomes a very successful woman, leaves town, but Rosie still stays where she's at. But during this time, things happen. The father of the baby comes back. We meet we meet a neighbor who sort of takes Rosie under her wing, and things go bad. There's murder, there's a thriller aspect to it all, but it's really all about sort of making decisions to keep yourself safe, and how those decisions at times you can live for a long time with no repercussion, but they can come back. This book deals a lot with some very tough topics. It's got murder, so it's got that in it, but it also deals with women being abused by men, being abused young, and also being abused old, as they age, in relationships that are just toxic to women, and the things that they have to do to get through them. I really wish my friends from my book club were here, because they probably could definitely even do a better job than I just did describing this. This book caused a huge discussion in our book club. It was a fantastic book club choice, and there was a lot to discuss. So I will say that I at times was uncomfortable, at times I loved it, at times I was like, what am I reading? But in the end, I'm super happy that I've read it and that I talked about it with my friends. So I think that's a pretty big recommendation. So that's The Hare by Melanie Finn, out from $2 Press. They always do their book publications really cute. They're like in these little square formats, and I really love that. Okay, the next book I read was Brewed by Jackie Polzin. This is out from Doubleday. Thank you, Doubleday, for this gifted copy. I truly appreciate it. And this is a Russell book, if there ever was a Russell book. So we have a nameless main character. She's a woman who lives with her husband in a house, and she raises chickens. And that is the premise. What we learn is that she's gone through some loss. I'm not going to say what, because I think once you find all that out, the book sort of starts to make even more sense. And she sort of put the energy from that loss into these chickens. And we learn a lot about how to raise chickens. But it's a very introspective novel. We find out that her husband has interviewed for a job across the United States, in California, I believe, if I remember correctly, and that she may, if he gets that job, she may have to leave her chickens behind. But things start to happen, and loss continues to occur, and she has to sort of come to terms with all of the loss in her life, and how and who that is making her moving forward. I hope that makes sense. But this book is really set in her head, and it does an amazing, poetically beautiful job of dealing with grief and loss and moving forward. I hope that makes you want to read this book. It is beautiful. And that is Brewed by Jackie Polzin, and this is out now from Doubleday. And that cover, y'all, come on. So good. I'm so happy I read this. Thank you very much, Doubleday, for sending it to me. Okay, 2 more. The next book I read, I need to go get my copy because I loved this book so much, is 3 O'Clock in the Morning by Gianrico Carofiglio, translated from the Italian by, let me get his name here, Howard Curtis. Okay, so this is a father and son story. So we meet our young character, Antonio, when he's 15 years old. So when he's 15 years old, he starts having these episodes and winds up getting diagnosed with epilepsy. Him and his father and his mother, who are divorced, or separated at least, go to Marseille to see a specialist who puts him on a drug regimen and basically says, come back in 3 years, we'll reassess and see if you are still epileptic or if you have been, sort of outgrown that, cured yourself from it with all of this medication. Okay. So the parents are split up. So the young boy, Antonio, does not see his father a whole ton. He is very dedicated to his mother. But when he turns 18, he winds up making the trip back to Marseille with his father only. And when they get there, the doctor says, you have to stay awake for 24 hours because we need to see, and we're going to take you off all the medication, and we're going to see if you have an epileptic seizure during that time. If you don't, we'll think that it's over and you can sort of move forward in your life without taking these medications. And what happens is in that 48-hour period, father and son get to know each other in a way that they have never known each other before. They share secrets, they share stories, they have meals, they go to parties. There is so much love in this book. And it is really a story about a relationship thought to be lost, found again. And it tore my heart out. I thought it was beautiful. I was crying. I loved this book. The ending will break your heart, which you know, I like myself a good cry at the end. But really, it is the story of a father and son getting to know each other once again, and I loved it. So that's 3 o'clock in the morning by, oh, and I should say this was sent to me by Harper Via. Thank you very much, Harper Via, for this early copy. And it is out now. It just came out in March, so you can get your hands on it. 3 o'clock in the morning by Gianrico Carofiglio, translated by Howard Curtis, and I highly, highly recommend it. Highly. Last but not least, I decided, you know what I'll do? I'll go science fiction. And I was like, I'm going to finish the month reading In the Quick by Kate Hope Day. I actually ordered a copy of this from Kate Hope Day's local bookstore so she could go in and sign it for me, and it's on its way, I would hope. I think it's in the mail. In the Quick is a sci-fi sort of spin on Jane Eyre. And I'm only going to say that so you guys can sort of dig into it and find those nuggets as we go along. Now, I have a bone to pick with Kate Hope Day, but we'll get there at the end. This is the story of a young girl. She's like 12 years old when the book is started. She is, her parents are both no longer with her, and she lives with her aunt and her uncle. She is very close to her uncle, who is an engineer, science guy in the space field, and he's created and invented a number of things, including a fuel cell that's being used in these spaceships that are going into space. And one that it is in, the fuel cells are in, has disappeared. And she's 12 years old, and she just doesn't believe that it's gone forever. But she struggles with the relationships in her household once her uncle's gone. And she does some stuff to sort of alienate herself from her aunt and her cousin that she lives with. So she winds up getting put into this school for possible future astronauts. And I use the word astronaut. I think that there's more complexity to what they do than just that word. But she goes into the school. She's the youngest one there. And she sort of starts to compete in this school, physically, mentally, with her brain, mathematics, engineering. She looks at the world in a different way. And the book travels on from there. And what eventually winds up happening is she winds up becoming part of this program. There's many different adventures into space that cause different things to happen to her. I'm not going to ruin them. But in the back of her mind, always, is I need to figure out what went wrong with the fuel cell that my uncle developed, and I need to find that ship. And she sort of creates relationships with the people who worked on it with her uncle. And some stuff happens. She winds up being able to figure out there may be a way to save these people if they're still alive, okay? That is sort of where the book ends, with sort of that apex. I need the sequel, Kate Hope Day. I need her to continue her journey. So I need you to be working on that for me, because I have to know what happens next. I like a good cliffhanger, but goodness, do I need to know what happens next. Big time, Kate. I need it. So I highly recommend it if you like it's like an educational, it's almost like a campus novel in a lot of ways, set on the backdrop of space engineering that winds up moving into space. Did that help at all? With a twist of Jane Eyre. So if that didn't tell you need to read this book, I don't know what else I can do. So that's In the Quick by Kate Hope Day. This is out now from Random House. You can get your hands on it. And yeah, I have a lot to talk about. So I really need you all to read it so that we can talk about it. So I was going to try to hold all of these books up. But again, last time I did that, I dropped them all over myself and it was not pretty. As always, if you are a return subscriber, I could not do this without you. Thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe. I hope you hit the little bell. I hope that you come back to talk about books. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.